Welcome to Pride in Parsippany. I'm your host, Mayor James Barberio. And today with me, I have the Director of Public Works. I have Greg Schneider. How are you, Greg?
Nice to see you, Mayor.
Same here. Well, Greg is one of the individuals I probably deal with the most, really, when you really think about it. You and the police are pretty close together on that. But
absolutely.
You deal with the roads, you deal with sanitation, you deal with a lot.
A lot.
So one of my questions, and I'll start it off, can you explain what functions the DPW?
I have about, about 85 employees that report to me. The divisions that report to me are streets and road, sanitation recycling, building maintenance, and the engineering department. And keeps me pretty busy, I can tell you. So.
Well, that I do know. I see how busy you are at times. Well, you know what? We'll talk about several things. I do want to go back to something I feel is very important that a lot of residents should know and understand: the amount of time and the dedication you put into 2 hurricanes. And we could start with Hurricane Irene, because both hurricanes were different. And the DPW, you were very instrumental with the residents down the Lower Lake Hiawatha section. Can you just rehash that whole time? Or?
It was quite a horrific issue. I can tell you that I had experience being chief of the fire department back in the early 80s. We had a lot of floods. We didn't have the wall at that time. And as you know, we walked up and down that wall many times that day. And unfortunately, it was just something that was, as I said before, horrific. We spent a lot of time. We're still, unfortunately, seeing some of the results of that event with some of the homes still vacant and so forth and so on. But we stepped up and helped as many people as we possibly could. We did a lot of damage control. We did a lot of removal of rubbish. We did a lot of helping people relocate and so forth and so on. And that memory still sticks with me. I tell you, it was. I knew so many people down there, being involved with the township as either a fire commissioner or a fire chief. I knew so many of those people, and it was just a horrific, as I said, horrific event. So. It
was a bad time, but what I will emphasize, and as a mayor, because that was my 2nd year as mayor, I'll never forget that day in my life.
No.
But what I love so much about, and the positive things you can bring out of it, is the fact that the whole entire community came together.
Absolutely.
I mean, we had,
absolutely,
the florist, you had Adam up there, and you had Loretta Gragnani, all
bringing food down and so forth.
You had, Mrs.
The
Erdman,
names go on and on.
The names go on. God rest Annie Erdman's soul, but everybody was together, and this was just something as a mayor you're proud of. At the same time, it was just a devastation, but.
And we wish we could have done more.
Right.
We were down there for days and weeks helping out and so forth, and seeing the tears and so forth that went, with all the residents. But we bounced back.
Yep.
We're back a little bit now, and a lot of it I can thank you for, because you were very instrumental in being down there with the residents and trying to keep the calm, as the expression goes. So kudos to you. So.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Greg. What do you see, the future of the DPW?
Well, it's interesting you to say that, because I've just opened up communication channels with, and this may even be new to you, with pursuing, and it's called the One-Armed Bandit program, and for a lack of a better way to put it. And we have a tremendous issue with workers' comp claims and injuries and so forth and so on. And I can tell you right now, the sanitation division is a tough division.
Oh, it is.
Those guys work out in all kinds of conditions. They work out in rainstorms and when it's 10 degrees outside. And I'd like to say that everybody plays by the rules, but some people with the wheels on garbage cans, they don't understand that the can weighs 150 pounds and the guys try to lift it because they're all heroes.
Right.
And I have injuries. So I'm starting to just open up this channel of communication with vendors and other towns to see how the one-armed bandit, and to explain that a little bit, it's a one-man operation truck. There's a crane that works the side and picks up the can, dumps it. The driver never has to get out of the truck. Certainly I envision it being a quicker way to handle the recyclable materials and the garbage. Problem is, our town is so narrow in many sections. The Hiawatha section is a good example of that. And many people do not have driveways down in the Hiawatha section. So they have to leave the cars on the street, and it becomes a touchy issue when you're trying to reach the crane out to pick a can and there's a car there. So there's a lot of things I have to analyze here to see if it would work in Parsippany. I'm 70-30 on the positive side now. But you know, my first goal would be to set up a test program, and Hiawatha would be a good good section of town to do that, where we can, you know, just handle recycling in Hiawatha with these new cans and the one-armed bandit to see how it would work. When we do our budget this year and when we have our sit-down, I will discuss this more in depth.
Right.
And you know, the initial cost would be expensive, but I think the return on our investment would be phenomenal.
Well,
so,
you're right. Hiawatha would probably be a good area because the houses are so close
very
together.
narrow. Mount Tabor concerns me, but you know, we can overcome all those things.
And then maybe what we would do is some sections could do it and other sections just can't do
Very
it.
possible.
I mean,
very possible.
I think that's what you're looking at.
Right.
One thing I will tell you, and my I don't tell nobody this, my confidential aide, Michelle.
Yes, anyway, I know her very well.
Yeah. But we do field a lot of phone calls
Yes.
with regards to DPW, and sometimes it's just a mere, someone not looking at the calendar. And I know we're going to segue into the calendar because it's very important.
Right.
I've been guilty of it myself.
Yes, you have.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I called Greg up one day and I said to him, you know, I didn't know there was garbage today, and you know, you missed my garbage. He's like, what do you mean? I go, well, I didn't put it out. So, but it was a joke. But
obviously, Mr. Schneider has to go with his own Jeep and take the garbage from the front of the house and so forth and so on.
But that being said, that you know, I was even guilty not looking at the calendar. But we do have, you know, you go to Parsippany.net and the calendar's on the website as well.
That is correct.
So I know you brought this calendar for your reason, so I'm going to let you segue into it.
Yeah, real quickly, this is our bread and butter information network for the public. Also Parsippany.net, where the same information on it. I just want to bring everybody's attention to the back of the calendar, which many people never get a chance to look at until it's December. But all the information here, many of the complaints can be, you know, answered by just looking to the back. What's your scheduled pickup for things? What do you do in the event of potholes, and so forth and so on. So, you know, the whole back section gives you all the parameters of how to put your garbage out, when to put your garbage out, and so forth and so on. So I ask everybody today, it's early in the year, take your calendar that's hanging on the door, and take a look at all the information that's in the back of the calendar. Very valuable. You'll save some of your, you know, having to make phone calls to the DPW office or to the mayor's office. And remember, holidays are always different pickups. So, you know, check your calendar. The information is in here and so forth and so on. So, very valuable tool to everybody who's a resident in this town.
Thank you. One thing we've been blessed this year so far,
yes, we have,
is we haven't had any snow, which
what
I would like you to do.
Thank you, El Nino.
Yeah, right. But we've had a lot of rain. But one thing I would like the residents to know, because I see it firsthand, I'm out there in snowstorms with you guys. Right. The preparation it takes for storms like snowstorms that we've had. I mean, last year was just ridiculous. But
28 storms we had last year.
Right. But just explain to everybody what that preparation is. And the amount of hours that our workers have to put in.
I must tell you that strangely enough, today could be the first event of the 2015-2016 season. As of right now, we're expecting snow flurries possible up to an inch. But we're readying ourselves right now by loading all the trucks. We don't believe this will be a plowable storm, so we're not putting plows on the trucks today. So all the vehicles that are called salt spreaders are being loaded right now. I'm kind of glad you brought that subject up. I'd just like to take a minute to explain some of the rules and regulations for the winter season. One of the biggest questions I get all the time is, why do you have to plow the snow onto my sidewalk? And there's a very good answer to that. Nobody likes the answer, but so many streets in town are narrow, and if we don't plow the snow curb to curb, next thing you know, we can't even travel down the streets. They're so narrow because people park on the streets and so forth. The snow comes out. So one of our goals is always to get the snow as far off the road as we possibly can, and that requires, unfortunately, going along the curb line and putting the snow back onto the sidewalk. We ask the public that you do not shovel any of your driveway or your sidewalks until the storm is over. We will make 2, 3, 4 passes on each road, because every time we come down, we widen it a little bit more. So all that effort you do on cleaning your driveway, your sidewalks, is going to be just filled right back up again. So we ask that. I also like to remind people that they cannot park on the street during a snowstorm. It's your responsibility to move your vehicle either to a municipal lot, easy for me to say, or into a neighbor who might have some extra room on their driveway and so forth and so on. If our vehicles come down and are plowing and we call the police department, you'll get a ticket and your car will be moved. We need to keep the streets clear. And, again, I can't harp on the fact that you must leave the material until we finish the storm. It could take us 24 hours to go back and forward. And then the biggest question of the most calls, which I'm sure you receive, potholes. Winter does a terrible job on our streets as far as lifting the asphalt up and creating potholes. I have a priority in my department that if we receive a telephone call, we answer that call within 2 hours, if we're working. Obviously, if there's a pothole that somebody tries to call in at midnight, we won't be able to get to it till the next day. It is our responsibility to keep the roads safe and clear during the winter months, which is the toughest job we have. I must tell the public that if I'm not aware of a pothole and you hit it and have a flat tire or damage your car, it's not the township, it's a state regulation that we're not responsible for. If we didn't know about that pothole, don't call me and ask for compensation for that. I can't help you with that. But if I know about a pothole, if the public is gracious enough, dial 263-7093, and if you get somebody there, we'll respond immediately to the pothole situation.
So thank you. Another thing I'd like to talk about, because I know you were excited about it, our trucks now have GPS, correct?
That is correct.
And can you explain to the residents how that GPS system works?
Absolutely. We are a test market for the GPS for the rest of the township. As of December, we have in all our vehicles, snowplows, sanitation trucks, we now have GPS. I've taken some heat from my men thinking it's more of a disciplinary thing for the guys, but it's not. There's a lot of things that this thing is going to help me with. I can, first and foremost, keep track of all my trucks during a snowstorm. If I see an area hasn't been handled in 3 hours, I will divert trucks to wherever they are needed.
And you know where those trucks are at that time?
Absolutely.
Right.
I have a screen right in front of me that tells me where all the trucks are. Will save me on fuel the long run here, because I'll be able to tell when trucks are idling and when they're not idling. It has a diagnostic system that any of my trucks that are out on the road, no matter what time of the day it is, if there's a problem that pops up, it will immediately send a message back to our shop telling us you're low on oil, you have a situation here or there. So maintenance costs should drop significantly. Driver safety is another thing. It tells me on a daily basis how fast my operators are moving their equipment. In other words, if somebody's going on the highway and the speed limit is 35, it will alert me if somebody's doing 50 miles an hour. Another savings. It will, in the long run, I'm sure, affect our insurance rates. When the insurance company finds out that we have GPS, they should be tickled about that. Absolutely help us. So there's the beneficial parts of this whole system is just phenomenal. Again, my men aren't happy about it, but they're all accepting the fact that, hey, we have a job to do. And believe me, every one of my men, and women, I should say, do a very, very outstanding job.
I'm going to delve into the GPS more. I remember you and I talked about it in the past, about getting it. And one of the reasons why I really wanted it, and you agreed with me, was the fact that we had an accident up in Old Dover Road.
Correct.
And it was so icy over there that we would have known right away what truck to deploy.
That's exactly right.
And because and get there faster, expedite things quicker, and we would have known what to do just by having that GPS system.
Absolutely.
And
right.
you know, it's also for the safety and welfare of our residents,
Absolutely
and any
right.
resident that drives on our road. So.
In the wintertime, I'm sorry to interject one thing. In the wintertime, we get blamed for a lot of things that happen out there on the road.
Right.
You hit my mailbox and this and that. And accidents do happen. I cannot deny that. But I must tell you that many times we're not even in the area when somebody calls in a claim for their mailbox being knocked down or something like that. This gives me justification to go back and simply say, excuse me, we weren't even on your street.
Right, you can go back into the
I have a history, the
archives and
exactly
give
right.
it history. What's really neat about these GPSs,
it's scary to be
it
honest
is.
with you.
They know exactly how fast you're driving at that moment.
Absolutely.
And you can call in and say, hey, wait a minute, you're on a narrow road here. You shouldn't be driving that fast. So you can really, you know, like I said, it's public safety as well.
Absolutely.
And it isn't.
It's a cost-saving thing also for
right,
us.
it's
Absolutely.
cost-saving. And it's not Big Brother type of thing.
Right, exactly.
So it's more, you know, the production of how the town runs.
Absolutely.
But, you know, what I will say, Greg, is I know, you know, I've known you now, well, many years prior to being mayor. It's my 7th year as mayor, and I know the job can be stressful, but you do a great job.
It was black when I started.
Yeah, and I know, and I can say that because I see it.
I appreciate that.
And with a lot of the residents, I want you to know and understand that this gentleman here always looking out for the public safety
Absolutely. Resident
of our
for
residents.
45 years.
You know,
yeah.
and he's a resident himself, so that's even better. Which means you pay taxes to the town. So
I do.
I'm only kidding. But that being said, Greg, thank you for all you do for the community.
No, thank you
And,
also,
you know,
Mayor.
and
You
it
do a
really, you do
phenomenal
exemplify the pride in Parsippany because
I
you're out
appreciate
there
that.
and you want the best for the township.
Absolutely. I'm a senior citizen, too.
Right. Thank you very much.
No, thank
So
you.
I'd like to thank you again for tuning in to Pride in Parsippany. And until next time, which is going to be very shortly, God bless you all. And once again, Greg, thank you.
You're welcome. Good job.
Good. Thank you.